The day of my mother's funeral was perfect. It looked like Mama was controlling the weather from up above. Sun was streaming in to St. Patrick's Cathedral in Charlotte, North Carolina. There was a big St. Patrick in a stained glass window over the altar, and that sun hitting that statue, that emerald green glass, filled the whole place with green light, and it bathed right over my mother's casket covered with the white cloth. I thought it was beautiful. Father Gary approached the pulpit. He was my mother's special friend. And this was the one that she had wanted to do her funeral and to speak of her at that occasion. I sat back, looking a little bit at Mama, watching Father Gary, getting ready to hear what he was going to say. And he said, I want to open this because I want to tell you a story about Louise. He's going to tell a story about my mother. I thought I knew all the stories about my mother. I want to tell you a story about her. Well, I perked up, paid attention. She met her husband right here in this church. That threw me a little bit off. But I thought I'd give him another shot at it. They were married 57, 58 years, and she met Bob Diggle right here in this church. She told me, she said, I came into the church, he was there, I looked at him, he was the most gorgeous man I'd ever seen. And I looked at him sitting in these pews, and he turned around and he looked into my face, and I knew he was the one for me. He's got her confused with somebody else. He looks too young, to be going off track like this. And he said, their story is so beautiful of a deep love formed within a spiritual context that I'm using this story that Louise told me. Is that what he said? That Louise told me? I'm using this story to teach my pre-Cana, pre-marriage classes. Now, it was a beautiful story. And I looked around at my sisters and at the rest of the family, and they didn't seem to notice anything. They were all smiling. The priest was telling a story about my mom and daddy and their love, their great love, and they were all smiling and happy. And it was a nice story, but there was not one word of truth in it. So I sat back and I thought, but it's really a nice story. It's lovely, and the priest is telling it. So the funeral completed. It was beautifully done. He did a great job. The music was fine. Everybody went home. Sad, of course. My mother was 93 years old, and we were going to miss her terribly. However, 2 days later, as I was riding up the highway 95 coming back to Washington with my husband, I said to Jim as we approached Winston-Salem, I said, I think I ought to call Punny and tell her about Mama's funeral. That's her sister, 8 years younger than my mother, who had been too ill to come to Mama's funeral. So as we approached the exit for Winston-Salem, I took out the cell phone, dialed her up. She answered, yes. Punny, I've got it. Oh, I've been thinking about it for so long, Ellouise. Was it beautiful? Was it everything your mama wanted? I said, it was gorgeous. The flowers were pretty, the green light, it was just gorgeous. Did that young priest, the one she liked so much, did he do her service like she wanted him to? Oh, he did. I want to tell you about it. I want to tell you the story. And I told her the story about how Mama and Daddy had met in St. Patrick's Cathedral, which, by the way, was not even built when they met. And he went on and told her everything that Father said and how he was using it to teach her pre-Cana classes. And as I'm talking and telling her the story, I'm hearing the silence growing colder and deeper on the other end of the phone till she can't stand it another minute. She said, "Not a word of that is true. Don't you know that?" I said, "Yeah, I know that." "Who could have possibly told him that?" "Mama did." "Oh. Well, I just want to go on record and tell you how it really was. I was there. I was 9.5 years old when your mother and father walked back into the living room at home to tell Mama and Daddy that they had eloped, that they had run off down to South Carolina, got married. You should have seen Mama. She was furious. 'Louie, what have you done? You're going to college in 2 months to Winthrop, and you just got married. And Robert Diggle, what are you thinking of? Your family is so staunchly Catholic. Louie's not a Catholic." "Oh, Louie's not a Catholic." "She's not a Catholic. You've got to go and get married by a priest." And that's what they did, Ellouise. I was standing right next to your mother 2 weeks later when they were down in the rectory in the living room of St. Peter's Catholic Church getting married. You know, I just can't believe that. Are you sure? I am sure Mama told him that story, Punny. And isn't it beautiful? Well, I just want to go on record. I mean, I'm not going to let this go by without telling you the truth. And I said, "Honey, I know that story." She said, "There's only one piece of truth in that. And it's the fact that your daddy was the best looking young man I have ever seen. And your mother did love him. She was so in love with him till the day she died. But don't kid yourself. She didn't have an easy life with that one. There were times when he thought more of his Bible." I said, "I know about that. I was there, remember?" But think about it. Think about it. I was upset when I first heard it, but think about it. It's such a beautiful story, and the priest is telling it for her, just like she would have wanted it. It's kind of nice to think you can change your story and make it just what you would have wanted. Thank you.